Okay everyone, we're in with part 3 now of the painting video. I added Titan Buff to my palette. That's the only new color that I've added so far. So I'm going to go in and again I'm using the Diebenkorn piece, which I will post a much better picture of this later on, as my inspiration. I'm going to go in and start to add a little bit of the Titan Buff or Off-White to the page. So see how when I'm putting it down, I tend to put it on somewhat thin. This is because I don't want to totally obliterate what's underneath it too much. I want to be able to see through it. This way it gives it some texture too. Step back for a second. So one of the things I like to do when I go to start layering with my colors is I don't just, like I said before, I don't just butt the colors up against each other. I like to layer color on top of color on top of color and see what happens. So I don't like waiting for things to dry. So I'm going to pull out some more of this red again. See what I mean about layering the same color on top of each other? How much richer it gets and more vibrant. Remember what I said too, that my page might not end up looking anything at all like the Diebenkorn that I'm using as inspiration. I'm mostly using it to inspire me in terms of my color palette and also the way that I'm putting the paint on the page. It's different than, or I'm trying to make it different than how I usually paint. So use a little bit more of the Quin Gold. I'm not going to worry about this piece too much right now because I'm thinking that I'll probably go in later on with pens and markers to change the look of it. See, moving that color in and around the page, not keeping it all in one area, trying to vary the direction of my brush strokes just a little bit. It's got a southwestern feel to me. So now what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to pull out more of that black again that I used earlier. So acrylic wise, you know, I always recommend people use what they have. I started years ago when I started painting, I was using Golden, and then I found a LA paint company that I like that's called Nova Color. They're like 15 minutes from my house, which I'm very lucky about. And the nice thing about the company is that their quality is just as good as Golden, but they don't wholesale. They only sell direct to the public. So their prices are a lot cheaper than Golden. And I used them for a long time, and I still do use them every now and then. And then a few years ago when I started painting again, I walked into Dick Blick and I wanted something different. And I usually am not a big fan of matte acrylics, but I picked up the Blick matte acrylics. They were new at the time. And I bought 4 or 5 of them, went home, played with them, fell in love, went back and bought like another 8 or 9 colors. And I've got a list of them. I'll link again when I go to post this of my favorite colors. The nice thing is they're usually like $2.50 a bottle. And unlike a lot of the other craft paints that are out there, I really like the coverage of them. And I mix them, like I'll use them on their own, and then sometimes I mix by layering them with the more expensive acrylics like the Holbein and the Sennelier that I've been using for the last couple of years. For the heck of it, I'm going to bring in one of my favorite colors. Me and my fluorescent pink. I don't worry too much that the fluorescent colors aren't stable. I use what I like, and I know over time they're going to fade, but c'est la vie, they make me happy right now. And I didn't wait too long for that black to dry, but I like that texture in there. So some people ask me why I like to layer, because I like to get all these different color combinations. You know, note how different it looks than when I started painting a few minutes ago. Each and every color you put down pushes it in a different direction. So I'm going to give this pink a little bit of time to dry. I'm going to clean my brush, back up away from my page for a second, and I'll see you again in a minute.